Hi, my name's Stephen. I've been teaching sword and buckler to beginners at Athena School of Arms for maybe a little over 6 months now. I wanted to put together a quick video because I've heard a lot of conversation on the Discord lately around learning sword and buckler, teaching sword and buckler, and one of the things I do in my class is I like to give some sense of intuitions in sword and buckler that'll give students a framework for understanding the plays, understanding the techniques, so they have kind of a meta understanding of what it is they're trying to accomplish. So I wanted to make a video that's going to basically just be that talk that I give. And I'm going to be starting with some of the intuitions we get from the fencing that we're already familiar with, you know, whether it's saber, longsword, messer, just a single sword, against another single sword, to kind of get you into the modality that I'm thinking of here. This should hopefully be helpful to people that are starting with sword and buckler, or people that just want to look at things they're already familiar with from a different angle. So I've got a helper here, and we're both armed with swords. Now this is a pretty efficient weapon where we could give each other grievous injuries if we were in some sort of combat. But it would be obvious if we both had knives, and it's still the case with us both having swords, that there's a strong possibility that if I attack her and she attacks me, we might cut each other or stab each other in the same action. So if we just put our swords both out and just give a little stabby, just do a little thrust, you also. No,
Okay.
see me? Yeah. So we don't want this, right? So it's pretty intuitive, to even a common person that these weapons can be placed in the path of each other to protect yourself against each other. So if we only know this so far, we're in a situation where I can attack her, she can block, and she can attack me, and I can block. So that doesn't really get us anywhere either. So what I really need to be doing, I can of course attack a place where she can't block, but if I do that, she can still hit me in the same action. I haven't really guaranteed that I'm going to be safe. So it's not ever going to be enough from a fencing science point of view to just attack her. I need some way to control her blade. So if we're doing like saber fencing and she attacks, so just give a cut, I could do a parry. Now what this might help me do is she's extended, I'm a little chambered, so before she can get back to her defense, I might be able to strike her, and thereby, with that extra little second that's bought to me before she can give another attack, I can possibly end the fight without getting hurt myself. We also have beats, right? So if she gives me an attack, I can really knock the sword out of the way. So again, sending it in some direction, allowing me to give an attack in the same tempo. Now we come to things like our KDF system. So instead of my waiting for her to give an attack, which we're in many systems expressly told not to do, I might want to guarantee some sort of blade action by giving an attack first. So if I throw, let's say, a Zornhau, and then winds or just going straight with a thrust, I'm somehow controlling her blade to keep it from attacking me in the same tempo that I'm giving an attack. So whether we're winding, whether we're doing duplierens, whether we're doing mutirens, we're in some way trying to control their blade, having forced them to engage with us by entering with a cut, seizing the vor, as it were. So the problem with sword and buckler is that we don't have quite the same guarantees that we have with just a single sword. So you grab that. So whereas with a single sword, I can throw a very committed attack and be reasonably assured that she'll defend herself rather than choose to injure me in the same action, I don't have that guarantee with the sword and buckler. If I just throw a cut, she of course can just parry with her shield. And quite easily. With a buckler, you can parry a lot of angles without moving the buckler very much. And as you saw there, the big problem with this is that if I throw a cut, not only am I not getting myself anywhere strategically, but she can strike me in the same tempo that I'm striking her. So I could actually be inviting my opponent to take a free hit. So I need something a little more clever. I need to defeat the advantage of the buckler, which is that it protects against a lot of cuts. But B, I need some way to get her sword out to where I can somehow get control of it. Now, of course, if her sword arm is out and not protected by her buckler, so just kind of come out like this and move the shield away. I can try to cut at the hands to make some kind of direct attack. If her sword and buckler are apart, I can go for the separation and just attack directly. But if she's got her sword up on her shoulder or in one of the wards, I don't really have a way to get it out of there. So this, I think, is where the Obsessios come in with I-33 in particular. Now, the buckler is going to defend well against cuts, but what I think it doesn't do especially well compared to shields is defend against thrusts. With a cut, my angle is always going to be going up and forward, so there's always kind of this bend from my arm to the sword, and that's why she has this cone of defense protecting her. But if I straighten my blade, which we don't really do with cuts, but we do kind of do with thrusts, it's now easier to target around her buckler open lines. So my belief and the way that I teach I-33 is that the Obsessios are a way to threaten the opponents by moving yourself to just within, a little bit of measure of a thrust. So if we both have our bucklers out, this is a way to say, hey, if you don't respond to this in some way, I'm going to finish this thrust, and you're not going to be able to protect yourself if you haven't moved yet. Now, the reason to step in first but not go for this directly is if I just thrust, she'll of course parry it. I need some way to enter distance and make sure that I'm not getting doubled so that we don't just stab each other, which is still possible even with the bucklers. So the idea with this Obsessio is I can threaten, and even if she parries, pushes my point off with the buckler, so use the shield to kind of move it away, I can still, change through to some other line pretty quickly, because you see we're getting sort of a rapier system already, where I'm targeting other lines with these little wrist actions. So she really needs to engage my sword with her sword, because that's going to close off large sections of her body the way that, say, sabers and rapiers do with thrusts. So I come in with the Obsessio, and she's got to somehow engage with her blade. And now I can work, as I know how to get some of these situations where I can open up some lines. So maybe I can create a separation and then thrust from there. Maybe I can, suppress and do my shield knocks like we know how to. But the point is, I need some way to get her sword into the mix, because that's the only way I can ensure that she's not cutting me or thrusting me in the same action that I'm thrusting her, which is particularly dangerous with the bucklers. So anyway, this has been a little off the cuff, so I probably forgot to say a bunch of things, including I don't know anything about the Italian systems, so sorry to you, side sword and buckler fencers. But these are kind of my intuitions on sword and buckler fighting, what we're trying to do, and basically why it ends up looking so much like rapier fighting, both because we're protecting our hands and because this is the best way to, reasonably or believably threaten the other person. So they have to get their sword involved, and then I can control it and keep myself safe as I make my own aggressive actions. Of course, teaching someone to defend with a buckler is just as easy as having them keep it out and cover any attacks that come in. But I feel this is a good framework for starting to understand how to attack and how to attack safely with a buckler. So I think this is only like my second HEMA video ever. Hope this is helpful. If you guys want to tear me apart in the comments, you can do that also. But thanks for watching.